Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards are $1. I've got a question for you. Are you impatient? Do you want instant gratification for no effort? And do you believe that waiting is for people with too much time on their hands? Then maybe you'll enjoy 5 instant win combos you won't believe are budget. Our first combo is Near Death Plunge. For this combo, we're going to need 2 cards. First card is Near Death Experience. For 5 mana, it's an enchantment that states that at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 1 life, you win the game. The second card we need is Plunge into Darkness. For 2 mana, it's an instant, and it states that you can choose one. Either sacrifice any number of creatures, then gain 3 life for each sacrificed creature, or pay X life, and then look at the top X cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand, and remove the rest from the game. Now, to make the combo go off, we're going to need Near Death Experience on the battlefield with enough mana to cast Plunge into Darkness. Then we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. When our opponent ends their turn, in their end step, we are going to cast Plunge into Darkness. Then we're going to choose to pay X life, then look at the top X cards of our library and put one of those cards into our hand and remove the rest from the game, where X is our life minus 1. This means that at the beginning of our turn, we will have 1 life. We will untap, and during our upkeep, we will have exactly life, and hence we will win the game. Combo number 2, Barren Oblivion Spite. For this combo, we're going to need Barren Glory. Barren Glory is a 4 mana enchantment that states that at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no permanents other than Barren Glory and have no cards in hand, you win the game. We will also need Oblivion Ring for 3 mana, also an enchantment that states that when this card enters the battlefield, exile another target non-land permanent. When Oblivion Ring leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. And finally, we're going to need Kervik's Spite. For 3 black mana, it's an instant that states sacrifice all permanents, discard your hand, and target player loses 5 life. To make the combo go off, we're going to need Barren Glory on the battlefield. As it's our turn, we're going to cast Oblivion Ring, and using Oblivion Ring's ability, we're going to exile Barren Glory. Then we're going to pass the turn with 3 mana open. At the end of our opponent's turn, we're going to cast Kervik's Spite as an instant, which means we're going to sacrifice all permanents. This means that we have to sacrifice Oblivion Ring and all our other permanents. As Oblivion Ring leaves the battlefield, Barren Glory comes back and enters the battlefield under our control. We also discard our hand and we make our opponent lose 5 life. At that point, it is our turn. We untap, and during our upkeep, we see that we control no other permanents other than Barren Glory, and we have no cards in hand, hence we win the game. Combo 3, Alchemist Laboratory Leveler. For this combo, we're going to need Alchemist Refuge. Alchemist Refuge is a land that states that you can pay a green and a blue mana, tap it, and then we can cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash. We're also going to need Laboratory Maniac. For 3 mana, it's a 2/2 that states that if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. And we're going to need Leveler. For 5 mana, 10/10 creature states that when Leveler comes into play, remove your library from the game. To make the combo go off, we're going to need Alchemist Refuge on the battlefield. Then we're going to pass our turn. When our opponent passes the turn back to us, in their end step, we are going to pay 2 mana, tap Alchemist Refuge, so we can play non-land cards as though they had flash. We are then going to cast Laboratory Maniac for 3 mana. And we're also going to play Leveler for 5 mana, removing our library from the game. Now it's our turn. We untap, we pass our upkeep, and we're about to draw a card. However, Leveler has removed our library from the game, and Laboratory Maniac checks to see if there's any cards in our library, and as there are not, we cannot draw a card, and so we win the game instead. Combo 4, Biovisionary Reflection. For this combo, we're going to need Biovisionary. For 3 mana, it's a 2/3 human wizard that states that at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures named Biovisionary, you win the game. We're also going to need 3 small non-token creatures. In this example, let's just take Fugitive Wizard, Charging Badger, and Merfolk of the Pearl Trident. It doesn't really matter which creatures they are as long as they are non-token creatures, so we just picked a couple of cheap ones.
Finally, we're going to need Infinite Reflection. For 6 mana, it's an enchantment aura. It states that when Infinite Reflection enters the battlefield attached to a creature, each other non-token creature you control becomes a copy of that creature. It also states that non-token creatures you control enter the battlefield as a copy of enchanted creature. So, to make the combo go off, we're going to need Biovisionary on the battlefield, together with our 3 little non-token creatures. Then we're going to cast Infinite Reflection for 6 mana, enchanting Biovisionary. This means that Fugitive Wizard, Charging Badger, and Merfolk of the Pearl Trident all become Biovisionary. We end our turn, and Biovisionary checks at the end step and sees that there are 4 more creatures named Biovisionary, so we win the game. Combo 5, Mortal Quicken Shift. For this combo, we're going to need Mortal Combat, a 4 mana enchantment which states that at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 20 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you win the game. We're also going to need Quicken, a 1 mana instant that allows us to cast our next sorcery card as though it was an instant. And finally, we're going to need Mortality Shift for 7 mana sorcery that allows us to exchange our graveyard and our library, then shuffle your library. To make the combo go off, we're going to need Mortal Combat on the battlefield. Then, at the end of our opponent's turn, we're going to cast Quicken, and then be allowed to cast Mortality Shift, as if it was an instant. We will exchange our graveyard and our library, putting all the creatures that were in our library into our graveyard. This should be more than 20 at least. Then it is our turn. We untap, and during our upkeep, we see that there's 20 or more creature cards in our graveyard, and so we win the game.
Those are 5 instant win combos you won't believe our budget. Remember that all the cards we use are under $1, so you won't break the bank just by trying them out. Also, use these combos with caution as they're not a lot of fun to play against. If you'd like to see more top 5 lists, please subscribe to our channel. Also, let us know on Facebook and on Twitter that you'd like more videos like this. Well, that was it. I'm David, and this was Budget MTG Decks.